everyone, Kelly here, and welcome to the 6th day of Bookmas. And today I wanted to talk a little bit more about reducing my TBR for 2020. I had talked about on the 2nd day of Bookmas video that I wanted to make a goal for myself was to reduce some of my physical TBR, mainly for the reason that I'm running out of space on my shelf, or I've actually already run out of space on my shelf, and I have books in my closet, and I don't want that. I want to be able to fit my books on my shelf, so I want to read more of the books that I already own. And part of that I had started with on the 2nd day, doing my read, keep, unhaul, and then another thing I want to do is I have here all the tomes that I would like to read in 2020. And by tomes, I mean books over 500 pages. And part of it is that these books take up a lot of space on my bookshelf because they are huge. And also a lot of these I've owned for a while because I'm a little tempted by the size. I haven't gotten around to them. And so this is gonna be a push. I actually think I have like 16 or 17 books here, but I want to read at least 12 of these. And if I love them, I will keep them on my red shelf, but if I don't love them, I can get them out of my life forever. And so I really want to push to be able to read at least one of these big books a month. I'm not going to do anything like pull them out of a jar or anything like that, because I think in order to really do this, I need to mood read. And so each month I'm going to just look at the stack and say, what am I in the mood for? That's one of the reasons that there is more than 12, so I don't pigeonhole myself into only reading 12 books. The other reason is that some of these are part of series, and maybe I haven't gotten to that part of the series yet. So I'm just hoping throughout 2020 to get to that. So let's start with the series first. I want to show you all of these books, and that way you can let me know which ones you really liked, which ones you think I should jump on and get to earlier in the year, and whatever. So the first one is Long May She Reign by Ellen Emerson White. This is the 4th book in the President's Daughter series, and that's why I can't read this one right away. I have to read the other 3 first, but they're contemporaries. This one's 680 some pages long, so I am hoping that I will get to them. The first 3 are much shorter, and hopefully this will happen this year. I want to read that whole series in 2020, hopefully. The next one is a 3rd in a series, and that's The Beauty of Darkness by Mary Pearson. This is the 3rd in the Remnant Chronicles. I've only read book 1, but I really loved it. I read it in November and just adored it, so I plan on reading book 2 very soon, so hopefully I'll be picking up this in the first half of 2020. The next are 2 books in a series, and that are The Well of Ascension and Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I don't know, since I'm pre-filming this, I might have already started Well of Ascension or finished it by the time this video comes out, because I was planning on reading this one around Christmas. And if I don't, then both of these are going to be on this list for 2020. I definitely want to have the Mistborn series finished by the end of 2020. And these are a kind of high fantasy series, trilogy. There's multiple eras, but this is a complete trilogy that is about a time after the Dark Lord has already won and what happens. And I enjoyed the first book a lot. And then I have another series that I haven't started yet. So this is book 1 and book 2. This is Terrier and Bloodhound by Tamora Pierce. And the reason I haven't started this yet is that I wanted to kind of read her books in not chronological order, because this one actually is a prequel to some of her other series, but I wanted to read them in publication order. So I need to finish the Song of the Lioness series, which I just have 1 book at this point, and then I wanted to read the Immortal series and then read this one. It's perfectly fine if I end up reading this one before the Immortals. That's just kind of my preference, is to read them in publication order. And both of these are over 500 pages. I only own the first 2 because I want to make sure I like this trilogy before I own the 3rd one. So these will be on my list. Last in my group of series books is I have Neverseen. This is actually Exile, because Neverseen is up at the bookshelf by my daughter, who is taking a nap, and I don't want to wake her. But I want to read Neverseen, which is the 4th book in the Keeper of the Lost Cities. All of these books are like over 600 pages, so I know Neverseen will be just as big and probably just as fun. I have a feeling this will happen towards the beginning of the year, because I just loved the end of the 3rd book. So I'm very excited to get to book 4, which is Neverseen. So those are all the series. So now I just have standalone books that I can pick up at any time, and they cover a very wide range of genres. So first I have The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas, and I love all of the adaptations of The Three Musketeers. I love the movies, anything that I have watched basically that has this plot. I also love The Man in the Iron Mask, which I believe is the companion novel to this. Like, I love the movie. So I really want to read one of his books, and I bought this just recently. I think my copy has, sorry, there's a lot of notes in this one, so I can't find where the end is. My copy has 600 pages, so definitely fits into that. I'm excited. Swashbuckling, swords, fighting for your prince and all that. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time. I'm excited to hear about D'Artagnan and the Three Musketeers. Next, I have The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. You might have seen this recently because I had this on my TBR a couple times in 2019 and just didn't get to it. It's a historical fiction book, and it covers like several generations of a family. I did really like the beginning. I started it and read like, I think 30 to 40 pages and really enjoyed it, but it was one that I really needed to devote time to, and at the time when I picked it up, I just didn't have the time. So sometime in 2020, I want to make sure to dedicate a week just to reading this book. Next, I have a new one I got, which was Battle Royale, and I actually don't know how to pronounce the author. I'll figure that out before I read it. And this is kind of like what is called the original Hunger Games. It's a Japanese novel that was written before the Hunger Games was written, but it's very similar in that whole like send a bunch of teenagers in to fight each other to the death. And I've just heard really great things about it. It has a graphic novel version and I believe a movie. And so I just really want to read this book. It's got about 600 some pages. Next, I have Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. This is also historical fiction, but I think it also has a little like confidence man kind of story too. Like, I believe that something like in that realm, that there might be some thieving or something like that. I really don't actually know anything about this. I've just kind of heard other people talk about it and heard a lot of people rave about it. And I had meant to pick this up earlier in 2019 and just didn't get to it because it was so huge. It's like almost 600 pages, but I do want to get to this in 2020 because I've heard such good things about Sarah Waters. Next, I have Master of the Game by Sidney Sheldon. Sidney Sheldon writes thrillers, but he wrote back in mostly the 70s or 80s. I don't know when this one was written, but I had read a couple of his books and just found them really compelling and well written. And so I just picked this one up. It was on Book Outlet and just picked it up. I didn't know it was going to be as huge as it is. It's like 530 pages. So I'm interested into getting into that. And then I have two giant nonfiction books that I think will take me several months to read. So I need to kind of overlap them with some of these other tomes. Like maybe I can start one in, like January and read it for the first few months and then read another one for the second half of the year because they are giant and nonfiction. And they are Alexandre Hamilton by Ron Chernow, which is obviously a biography of Alexander Hamilton. And this was the inspiration for the musical Hamilton. And I just really want to get to it, but it is humongous. It's like 700 some pages long and nonfiction. So I think this will be one where I just kind of pick it up for several months, but I really want to do it in 2020 or else I've just owned it for like, 4 years now. Need to get to it. And then I also have Leonardo da Vinci by Walter Isaacson. I've heard Walter Isaacson writes really amazing biography books, but this is the first one I have had. Somebody gifted this to me and they said that it was really good. Let's see, it has like a lot of notes at the end. So let me find where we actually, my goodness, so many notes. So it actually has 525 pages. It is a brick though, like it has really heavy pages, probably because I think it has a lot of pictures of his diagrams and all that. So, there's a lot of pictures in this book, but it's dense. So this one I think will take me several months to read as well. And then I have one of the oldest books on my TBR, which is The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. And I just need to either read this or get rid of it because I know I've owned this for at least 10 years. And it is huge, so I haven't, and it's historical fiction about a building of a cathedral, so that didn't seem interesting, but everybody that's read it raves about it, so I just need to do it this year, or it might not ever happen. And so if this is not read by the end of 2020, I am getting rid of it because it's just ridiculous at this point. And then last is one that I'm really excited about reading, and that is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. And I've heard so much about it. This is like a fantasy that's also like historical fiction fantasy about magicians. And I haven't really heard any details about the plot, but I've heard people rave about it, and so I just need to pick it up and try it. I think winter will be a great time. This is like almost 750 pages. I think winter might be a good time to pick this one up, so maybe at the beginning part of the year. Hi, Editing Kelly here, and I forgot to add one of my tomes in, and I wanted to include on this list Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is the first in a trilogy. I think the trilogy is complete now, and so I really want to get to this book. It's a little big, but her books are usually pretty fast to read, and I just really want to get to this in 2020, so I want to add it to this tomes to read in 2020. So just stick this on the list. That makes it 17 books in total I have on this list to read. And those are all of the tomes that I'm hoping to at least get to 12 of these tomes in 2020. If there are ones that really stand out to you as some of your favorites or ones you really want me to read, let me know. I would love to get a little push in the direction of one or the other to start off January with. See you next time. Bye.